Okay, with it being after 7 o'clock, we'll call November 22nd meeting to order, and we will start off with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Start up with the approval of minutes for September 29th, October 13th, and October 27th. And Mr. Maven said they have been read.
Yes, I've read all three sets of minutes, and I move that we approve the minutes as drafted for all three meetings.
Thank you.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, and that's unanimous. Thank you. Next one is 242-1816, 325 Johnson Street.
So the original project involves construction of a two-car garage, driveway extension to meet that garage, and abandonment of a septic system, connection to town sewer, and connection to gas in Johnson Street. At the last hearing, the question of whether the water body behind the house was a potential vernal pool. However, upon closer inspection and review of the riverfront regs with the chairman, we determined that the USGS shows that stream as a perennial stream. And per the regulations, if it's shown as perennial, it's perennial, period. Unless we get 4 observations of no flow in a 12 consecutive 12 months and not in drought conditions. So I let the project engineer know that. He did the riverfront area calculations and the alternatives analysis. And I believe he's met those standards for no closer to the river than existing conditions. And he did the calculations for the 10% because this property was developed before the riverfront regs came into being. So, and so he has got the calcs right on the plan. So I believe he meets the riverfront regs. And so with a river, the potential vernal pool issue goes away.
Thank you. Joe?
No questions.
Jack?
I have no questions either.
Tony?
No questions.
Motion?
Move that we close the hearing and issue a decision within 21 days.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, and that's unanimous. Next one is 242-1826.
And that is Old Park Road. All right. Alrighty. So at the last meeting, well, this project involves in-ground pool, patio, and associated appurtenances. And at the last meeting, the 30-foot right-of-way pedestrian access easement was discussed. The commission agreed that with the subdivision order of conditions never having been recorded, it's not enforceable or obtainable. So the commission asked that the proposed pool plan eliminate that easement to avoid confusion in the future. So we have a note on number 3 that speaks to that, and it's taken off the plan. Commission requested plan updates that included clearly showing elevations, having a cross section for the retaining wall, and a stockpile area, and a construction access. So we have those things on the plan, and I don't think there was any other questions, so we could close and issue in 21 days.
Thank you. Joe?
No, this is what we were looking for. I'm all set, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm all set as well.
I just have a question. Is a pool, I've drawn a blank, is a pool considered a structure?
Yes.
And this one's in the 50?
No.
No.
No,
Outside of 50, okay.
No,
I'm
outside
sorry.
outside the 100, actually.
Okay, just a
Yep.
question.
Yep.
No questions. Tony?
Yeah, no, my only concern's with the easement, and that's been cleared up.
Yeah.
No questions.
Okay, motion?
I move that we close 2/4/1826 and issue a decision within 21 days.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, that's unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
All right.
Okay.
Thanks for your help.
Thanks.
Next one is 242-1827, 60 Campbell Road.
Alrighty. So the commission will recall, there's a couple things going on the site. Chiefly, what brought us here is actually restoration of the slope where fill was brought in, and all of that restoration is being handled under an enforcement order. So the notice of intent deals with a proposed patio, a shoulder extension to the driveway, plantings in the front of the house, a proposed shed, and lawn restoration. At the last hearing, the commission issued the enforcement order to allow work on the slope to proceed and asked that the plan be updated to show the 2x2 fieldstone wall at the top of the slope as demarcating a no disturbance zone. So we have an updated plan that has that. And I think that was the only remaining question, and I think the commission can close and issue in 21 days.
Thank you. Joe?
We typically want a cross-section or a detail showing that wall,
Okay.
but I don't think we need to get that as an actual, we can condition it.
Okay.
And that is that, if we use the words, that'd be 2 foot by 2 foot. And that would be that 2 foot above the upgradient grade.
Okay.
Don't want a 2 foot retaining wall, but a 2 foot barrier wall.
Yeah, that's typical, and I'm comfortable with those.
Yeah. We all understood what it was, and rather than make it put a detail on it, I think we can condition it that way.
Yeah,
I'm all set.
I'm all set as well. This is,
Just one question. Is the abutter's property stabilized?
Yeah,
Okay.
yep, all erosion controls are working, functioning properly.
And the abutters are comfortable with what's going on?
Yes, they signed the.
NOI.
Yeah,
Okay, thank you. Tony?
Yeah, I have no questions.
okay.
Motion?
I move that we close 2/4/1827 and issue a decision within 21 days.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, that's unanimous.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thanks, Kate.
So, next one is 242-1830, 1101 Turnpike Street.
All right, so this, the commission will recall, this is construction of an 8-bay pole storage barn at 1101 Turnpike at the Mass Electric site. At the last hearing, the commission requested that roof runoff be addressed in some fashion. They came back with a drip edge trench at the rear of the building to catch roof runoff. Here's the detail. And that was the only outstanding question that you guys had, so we have updated plans, everything's out of the 50.
Thank you. Joe?
No question.
Jack?
I have no questions.
Only one small comment. I appreciate what you're trying to do with the squares around all the piers, but I think even if they wanted to saw cut it straight, because there's so little pavement in between the piers, and then just repave it, I think that would be fine as well. That's,
See what you're saying.
Okay. Any discussion? More?
I move that we close 2/4/1830 and issue a decision within 21 days.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, that's unanimous. Next one is
Thanks, Mike.
242.
Thank you.
It's all right.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
Next one is 242-1831, 104 Milk Street.
So Maureen Harold asked if we could push this further down the line, just because she has a conflict and she's trying to get done with another meeting, and
Okay.
then we'll be here as soon as she can.
Move to table.
So move.
Second?
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, that's unanimous. Okay, IDAs. Glenny Woodland Lot, request to continue till 12/8.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, and that's unanimous. And 268 Raleigh Tavern Lane, you have to recuse, we don't have a quorum, and they request to continue anyways. So how do we do that?
So we continue to a date certain, we don't have a quorum to hear it, so I move, I can't even table it.
You what?
I'm not sure how we do this. I mean,
Well,
just continue it.
yeah, I mean, I already told the applicant and his representative that we won't have a quorum, so we're we have to put it on the 12/8 agenda.
It'll be, I'm not sure whether that's actually continuing or if it's just tabled to
It's
the next
just
meeting,
tabling
whatever. yeah.
Due to a lack of a quorum, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, yep.
Okay. Do we need a motion?
Can't take any action without a quorum.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
it's just,
So-
it's,
Just table it to the next meeting.
Table.
exactly.
Do we have to
Yeah.
make a motion to table?
Yeah,
Don't
No, we
make-
can't even
can't
action.
even
No,
do
it
that.
just happens.
All right, okay.
Yep.
Jack, you can come back. All right, next one is 14 Lorraine Ave.
It is. Oh, I thought it was Johnson.
Johnson.
One second. Wait,
Oh, I'm sorry.
693.
Oh, he's
693 Johnson.
He's up, let's finish.
All right, do you mind? We'll get back to you. Okay.
My fault.
That's all right. Let me just get to get to the plan here. All righty. So this project involves installation of a generator at the rear of the house. It'll be 25 feet off of the wetland. I asked the applicant to do an alternatives analysis to show that that's really the best place for it because it's really right on the line. All the other options, per his review, would require more extensive trenching to get connection, or closer or just as close to the wetland, based on windows and setbacks for, the plumbing inspector and all that. So I'm comfortable that this location is the best place for it, and there will be, the connection for utility will be above ground, so we don't even have to trench for that. And the foundation, or whatever you want to call it, the pad that it's going to sit on is a precast pad that will be just set down. Is that my? Correct. Okay, so no digging even for the pad support. So I think, it's out of the 25 into 50, but, this house obviously is challenged. And so I recommend closing the hearing and issuing a -3 with conditions.
Thank you. Joe?
No question.
Jack?
So no erosion control required?
Right.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
I would suggest we consider a condition to inspect the location post-construction inspection of, to verify the setback
yeah.
25 feet.
Okay, yep, okay.
Other than that,
I mean, Dave Kindred, he's here, and he actually spray painted the area. Taylor visited and confirmed that it was where it says it's supposed to be, so.
What's the source of the line that is, I mean, is this,
Well, that's right up against the
is that a stone wall?
stone wall.
That's probably right there.
It's right there.
Does it make sense to just verify that, or have you already done that, verified that that is the edge of the wetlands? You did that, okay.
That from before.
Having done that, that's the only condition I would suggest is verification of the location
Okay.
post-construction.
Yep.
The site that wouldn't go away.
I know, I remember this one.
Yeah, so do I. I have no questions.
No question.
Okay, motion.
Move that we issue a -3 determination for 14 Lorraine Ave with the condition of post-inspection of generator location.
First off,
And close the hearing.
Does this one require a waiver?
Oh, yes,
Actually, yes, you're right. I'm sorry.
25 foot.
Yep,
So let's
the
make that
50-foot no build.
This is considered a built structure.
Yeah, well, it needs a
Okay.
building permit.
Okay, yeah, okay. All right, so,
It's a building permit or electrical permit?
No building
Well,
permit, so-
electrical, I guess, yeah.
Electrical and gas probably.
Electrical and gas,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I'm not sure this is a structure. What, dimensions of 4 foot 6 by 2?
Yeah, so it'd be under
Not a
the square
structure.
footage.
It's
It's
not a
12 by
structure.
10, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, so,
Oh, okay.
so it doesn't need a waiver.
Okay,
Okay.
all right, so we have a motion.
motion.
second?
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's unanimous. Thank you, Dave.
Thank
Our
you.
mistake. Thanks, Dave.
Thank you.
All right. Now we'll go back to 693 Johnson Street. Sorry about that.
Alrighty. This project entails an upgrade to an existing septic system. The limit of the leach field is 103 feet from the wetland located across the street. The geomembrane and grading is just inside the 100, between 90 and 100. And the vent will be about 85 feet from the wetland across the street, so. The commission will recall this came under a small project permit. The commission encouraged, denied the small project and asked for an RDA and suggested a geomembrane. I think that was incorporated. Board of Health has approved this. We have erosion controls proposed. So I don't know if there's any other questions the commission may have, but I'd recommend closing and issuing a -3 with conditions. Pre-construction to inspect erosion controls, being
Joe.
CC'd on fill import for the system, and post-construction to approve removal of the erosion controls after stabilization.
Thank you. Joe?
I don't have any questions, thank you.
Jack?
What's the setback to the limit of work? There's a-
I can measure that.
It's not called out.
Yeah. No, it's-
Okay,
I would say it's actually less than 85. I mean, it's more than 85.
it's more than 85.
It's more than 85, because the vent is 85.
Oh, got it, okay,
Yeah, no, the vent's probably the closest point in the system.
Right.
yeah,
It's outside the erosion control just by a
few feet, yeah. Okay, no, I don't have any other comments.
where's Johnson Street in reference to this?
It's,
Is it toward the
Bottom of the plan,
bottom?
it's at the bottom of the
Yes, the
plan.
bottom of the
Yeah.
plan,
Yeah,
driveway comes up on the right side of the lot.
Okay, over here.
yeah.
Yep.
All right, so you're gonna use the driveway as your construction access and your stockpile?
Excuse me?
You're gonna use your driveway as your construction access? and
Yes.
For your stockpile?
Yep.
Okay. Amy, could you, when you do your pre-construction, could you have that designated?
Yeah, I'll add that.
Because normally we require that.
Yep,
We do it for your benefit because you might get a contractor to put where he's not supposed to.
Okay, so, sorry, that was just a pre-construction inspection?
Yeah,
Um,
normally we make you put it on the plan. but
Okay.
It's not here, but I want to hold it up for,
Gotcha.
So it'll be a
Amy-
condition.
Amy will take care of that, or Taylor.
Okay.
On the
Yep.
pre-construction.
Okay, sounds good.
All right,
And
Tony?
the catch basin that's shown, that's off the road, correct? There's a,
yeah,
Okay.
yes,
Yes,
and
yep.
it's shown being protected.
all right, no, that was my only concern, was if it was in the road, straw bottom
Oh,
might be
yeah.
difficult. Yeah, no, that's,
I have a follow-up question on
sequence. This is a replacement of the field in the same location,
Yeah.
correct?
Correct.
So during construction, there's going to be some need to handle the waste coming from the house. So they're going to use the existing septic tank as a holding tank, and they're going to pump it periodically?
Is that your understanding?
That's a great question.
It must be.
That's a good question.
That's a tough question for
Uh,
him.
Probably.
They're going to have to, because they
Yeah.
can't discharge anything down into the leaching field. It'll
Right.
be all torn up.
yeah,
So they're going to have to make that septic tank tight,
Yep.
use it as a holding tank.
pump it
And
first.
pump it first, you can get, a few days storage out of it, probably a week storage out of it, and just make sure it doesn't discharge during construction. So I think we can condition it as part of pre-construction,
Yeah.
is have them submit a construction sequence and
Okay.
be specific with regards to waste holding during construction.
Isn't that kind of a Board of Health issue too?
Yeah,
It is a Board of Health issue, but I think we're downgraded, the potential for release to the wetlands, that's really the only threat is during construction.
Yeah, I got you.
Everything else is pretty straightforward.
Oh, great catch. Amy, a question also, that second condition, all fill clean and written documentation. The written documentation of the fill being clean is what you're looking for?
yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah,
Just wanted to clear that up.
okay.
I'm all set.
I'm also-
Motion?
Move that we issue a -3 determination for 693 Johnson Street with conditions as outlined by Amy
And Joe.
and Joe.
Yeah,
yes.
in the first bullet to include construction sequence and specific to septic handling during construction.
Yeah. Okay.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's unanimous. We're all set, thank you.
Okay, thank you
Great.
very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Amy.
Thanks.
Next one is in Ann Radford. We gotta wait for her for that one too.
Gotta wait for Maureen for that. So we're gonna
Motion,
table that.
motion to table, Ann Radford. Okay.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, and that's unanimous. Modification 242-1808, Beechwood Drive. How you doing? Good. It's hard to recognize people with put up masks.
Yeah, I know. What are you gonna do?
Alrighty. Let's see. So the commission will recall issuing an order in May of 2021 governing the construction of a 3-story self-storage facility, 26 parking spaces, underground infiltration system. The applicant has come back with a modification that involves substituting the original proposed ADS Storm Tech recharge system with a Cultec system instead. HydroCAD has been approved. provided, and the town's third-party peer review, Horsley Witten, has reviewed with no issues. So it's essentially the same function and volume, just a different manufacturer, really. So
It was a procurement issue. That's really what it came down to. Material. Functional equivalent system.
So we still have our separator rows. So it's the same exact
It's
number
actually
of,
Just a different manufacturer.
Yeah, different manufacturer, a little different dimensions, but
Yeah.
nothing huge. It's inch here, inch there.
The calcs all still
Yeah.
worked out.
The problem is a lot of HDPE parts are difficult to get right now.
Right, correct.
You gotta be kidding.
That's exactly the question I was gonna ask, because it's gotta be supply chain stuff.
Yep. No, I've
Yeah,
got-
it's a material procurement issue. That's simply it. Luckily, this one was, readily available, so it's a couple weeks out, readily available.
Yeah.
Wait till APA gains traction and there's no materials around and no contractors will install them.
It's-
With a 5-year window to close everything. Nothing, everything's gonna come to a screeching halt.
Unprecedented times, folks.
Yes.
So it's that. Jeez. Questions, Jeff?
Does-
I'm all set.
Jeff?
Does the recharge system require more or less square footage on the layout?
It doesn't further impede into the wetland. That was part of the study that the engineers performed. If that's where you were going with it.
I was just wondering if it takes up more room or less room in terms of footprint,
Yeah, I believe slightly more.
slightly more.
Yeah.
It's not a bad thing.
Yep.
Bigger the surface area, the faster the concentration will be.
No more questions?
On Jack's point, does that new footprint show up on a modified plan for the record?
Yeah. Yes, we.
yeah, so it's right,
We just didn't see it yet, right?
it's right here.
It's on the backside of one of these.
Well, I'm seeing that, but that's not, is that the record drawing?
Yeah.
This is the this is the proposed.
So that was, yes, so TF Moran, our engineers, has imposed that into their updated site plan, if that's what you're wondering.
So the light gray is previously approved. The dark outline is the new.
That's a good clarification.
Right?
I can find out.
So it's short of what, like,
We can call him right now, he might be able to speak to it.
Okay.
Would you like me to-
That's what I assumed. I assumed that the light gray is previously approved.
So let me ask, just administratively, so the record's clear. If we were to superimpose this plan on the record plan using the building footprint as the basis and superimpose them in, this overlay can now become a supplement to our record?
Yes.
And everything registers, lines up right?
Right,
I'm all set, I guess, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it's the first thing.
If it helps, we'll submit a final as-built at the end of the day as well. I think that's a part of the whole closing.
Well, that's when the issue becomes an issue. So I want to make sure that we're able to do that overlay comparison, so when the
Makes sense.
as-built comes in,
Oh,
we
I
show that
understand.
it's in
Yes.
compliance with what we approved.
Makes
Not what
sense.
we originally approved.
Makes sense, understood.
That's what I thought this was.
More questions, Jeff?
Does that,
no, I was
Like,
just wondering what
the
we're gonna
thing
do
I
with this,
have up-
and do we need
Hey,
more?
Tony,
Do we need
the
that
thing
before
that I
we,
have up
before
right
we
now, isn't
approve
that
the
what
modification?
isn't that what we're seeing?
Yes.
Like it's approval.
This is just
Huh?
it's a shop drawing,
Well,
but
I don't think
the,
so. It's falling in the
honestly,
same footprint.
yeah.
And has the
I
same.
think the first one's a
Places
shop,
are
I think
different.
this is the shop drawing, and this is the composite of the,
Yeah, so TF Moran signed off on the shop and provided the overlay.
yeah.
But, yeah, honestly, most people wouldn't even came whether it's right or wrong, because there's such a similar product.
Yeah.
It's, thank you for coming out.
Yeah,
And
I
asking.
want to be fully transparent with you folks, that's all.
It's,
That's a good thing.
yes, yeah, so it looks like it's, I don't have the scale on this, but it's slightly shorter and barely
Barely.
a hair wider when you look at it.
So I mean, I guess the point being is that you're right on the 50. So you guys need to know where that edge of 50-foot no build is.
Right.
When you're doing this.
Absolutely, yeah. It's fully staked. You've been out there with us.
Okay.
Yeah. Those have been intact the whole time, whole way through. So.
All right.
You all set, Tony?
Yeah, no question.
I know, like I said, I've known you and your family for a gazillion years. I just want to, if you have any questions when you're doing this project, please call the staff, because don't do things on your own,
Correct.
because it'll blow up in your face.
Understood.
'Cause,
Understood.
we have some pretty qualified people here.
Yep, no, very, very clear, loud
So-
and clear. That was communicated at the pre-con
Yeah,
meetings.
and I appreciate you doing this, because some people wouldn't even do this.
Right, no, that's,
So, we're in good shape.
Yep, thank you guys, appreciate it.
So need a motion?
I move that we approve the modification for 242-1808 Beechwood Drive.
second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, and that's unanimous. Thank
Good
you.
evening, folks.
Thanks.
Want to go back to Maureen?
Sure,
Huh?
sure.
All right.
All right, so we're gonna circle back. What's the-
You ready, Maureen, even though you're late?
All right. Great Pond
Milk
Road?
Street. It's 242,
Oh, Milk Street.
1831.
You are correct. All right.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, so we filed a notice of intent with the commission for the construction of a single-family addition. Amy and myself, we went out, we reviewed the wetland boundary. We made some adjustments along the A series, shifted some flags up gradient. The plan has been revised to show the new offset locations. We had to change the original building, single-family addition building to accommodate and meet the commission's 50-foot no structure. In addition, it was requested that we provide some sort of stormwater treatment. So as a result of that, we are proposing a drip trench along the addition. We received a DEP file number, and I can open it up to the commission with any questions or concerns.
Thank you. Joe?
Yeah, I see the drip trench shown around the outer perimeter, but what I don't have a feel for is the roof lines and just how much water's gonna be getting there. This part of Milk Street is notoriously high water table. Do you have a feel for where that water table is?
It's notoriously high, and that's why we went with this type of design as opposed to like a Coltech chamber that has to be 2 feet above the water table.
Okay.
So, I'm not sure where it is exactly in that location, but we know that it's high.
I had asked Jack, the engineer, whether, you know, what the foundation will be, and it's basically a crawl space. So, we're not looking at a full basement, so.
So I guess one way to look at it with notoriously high water table, whatever rain hit was typically running off pretty short time to concentration.
Yeah.
And anyway, so by virtue of paving it with a roof, making it impervious, the drip trench is the best we can hope to slow it down.
Yeah, I mean, I knew we had to do something, you know, I don't, like Maureen said, I don't know if an infiltration trench, infiltration chamber or dry well would have made a difference.
So does it rise to the point that we discussed, not allowing gutters and downspouts, that strictly the drip trench functions as a drip trench? And not have gutters and downspouts to concentrate the flow?
I think so. And I think they're surrounding the entire footprint, so whatever the roof lines are, they're,
I just want to get on the record because I know a lot of people, when they put drip trenches in, they see the splashes. Within a year or two, they're putting gutters and downspouts on. So if our condition
Yeah.
specifically says no gutters and downspouts, then that's part of the order.
So,
Right.
I believe the building code requires them over doorways now.
They what?
They require gutters or some sort of diverter over doorways.
Over the doorways.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, which is fair enough, for sure. Yeah, cricket, something just to divert. But what we don't want to do is, the whole concern apparently is concentrating flows and
Right,
runoff.
no,
Right.
that's, yeah, I would just
Give
say,
it-
as long as we accept, as the building code,
Yep.
requires.
I'm all set.
Jack?
Yeah, this is an NOI, and we've got pretty close setbacks to the 30-foot, or the 50-foot no build. So that's got to be a condition to stake that and verify that prior to construction.
Not a problem.
And other than that, I'm good.
I was looking at the 2S for the foundation to be certified.
Staked and inspected prior to construction.
Okay.
Or
And
But then we usually have that standard
we
condition.
have that stamped on our.
Yeah, it is.
order, right?
Or when they establish the forms before pour, have those corners surveyed? Does that make sense?
Well, it'd
When
be-
the forms
it would be-
Yeah.
are in,
it
I
would
mean,
be-
before the pour?
It would be to their benefit.
Right, but yeah,
Does that,
I mean, they're just gonna end up paying twice for a survey. If they wanna risk it, I mean, that's up to them, obviously. If the foundation
Yeah.
has to come out, it has to come out, but, I think if they stake it and then they pin it on the foundation, which is my guess with that sort of setback, they should be fine, because they're gonna set the corners of those forms right at the pin. And some of the form guys are even taking pictures now, because they don't wanna own the foundation after this.
The closest point, they have 9 inches of forgiveness, so they'd really have to be way the heck off to.
At that
To get
3.5 foot jog, they have 3/10 of a foot.
3/10 of a foot.
Where's that?
The 3.5 foot dimension?
That's the property line, isn't it? Oh, 50.3,
That's
I'm
to
sorry,
wetland.
50.3, I'm sorry. I see that.
That's close.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's,
it's
yeah.
close. And it's between
That's
flags.
4 inches, I'm sorry.
It's-
They're definitely worth it.
So we gotta verify that before
Yeah.
the building happens. So
Yeah.
whatever makes the most sense.
Right,
Our condition is pretty good, so
yeah,
if we stick with that, that's fine.
okay.
What's that?
Yes.
Okay. The question I have, and Joe spoke of it, the water table in this area is extremely high. So I would say you're gonna build a 4-foot frost wall for your addition. I would say you're gonna be in the water. So there's no dewatering plan on this site?
So we don't show one on the plan. We can certainly add it to the plan. That's not a problem. But you're right. I mean, depending on the time of year, dewatering is very realistic possibility, right? Especially if we have a year like this year. Everything's wet.
You'd still be dewatering in July.
Right.
I know.
We will.
Everybody do water in July. All right, so we're gonna have a dewatering plan,
Okay.
and I want it installed. I don't want the material on the side, think, oh, we hit water, hurry up, let's dig the pit,
Yep,
but then it's too late.
okay.
So do we condition a dewatering plan to be approved by administrator prior to construction?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's talk about this, because with the driveways coming up the left-hand side of the house, in other words, the opposite side from where the construction is, the garage turning area is behind the house where the existing garage is. It almost seems as though we don't want to be discharging, we don't want to be placing that pump and discharge area near the wetland. Or if we do, they have to really knock the turbidity down. So they really got to find a good location to put that.
Yeah.
Probably right near the proposed stockpile area, right?
No, that'll run out into the street. I
Then
think that'll
then
cause
it will run to the street.
bigger problems.
Yeah.
Yeah, so same thing would happen if you put it up in the driveway area, it would run down the street.
Yeah, I was looking over
So they,
closer to the 50 between the 104 and the 102 in the backyard.
so you get the mulch stock, it seems like in that corner above the grade that's shown 66.9, that 8-inch tree that's there. Somewhere in that vicinity is probably where you want to discharge your water. As long as you can get a break in topography that gets it over to the wet area and not to the street.
Okay.
So do you mean like up behind the garage and the shed?
No, he's out in front.
I'm saying a little further down.
He's out in front of the house.
Oh,
The 8-inch tree that's.
oh, down there, okay.
Yeah, we want it inside the mulch sock, but I think
Yeah.
there's room for that. What I don't want to do is get it so far down that it does find its way to the street. That's what we're trying to avoid.
Right.
Which puts it right where the construction vehicle entrance is, by the way.
Yeah.
So that's not the, so either that's gonna affect the construction access or the water discharge. Yeah, I think groundwater
put it up
control is gonna be
here.
thought about.
I was thinking in the backyard,
Right here?
and then just wrap some, come up with a detailed stone,
Like
silt
up-
fence around the stone and throw
up and
a
away?
silt
Right
sock
up in here? Up in
Uh,
here?
yeah, in between the 104 and the 102, between the 50
He's
and the
talking
100.
about up here, Jeff.
Or even further up.
Yeah, let it,
Oh,
Right
right
here.
there.
because if you follow that,
Right next to stockpile.
Then it doesn't encroach on the construction access.
right,
Right.
And there is some
there's a lot of lawn
topography
back.
that could break that water in.
Right.
Yeah, there's a lot of lawn back there.
So that means they're gonna have to push the silt sock further up.
Or they can just do a detailed, like a stone pad, silt sock all the way around it, and a filter bag right in between.
Right, but you see where the orange mulch sock comes up and
Yep.
dives into the back of the garage? I think we should extend it further up,
Yeah, they can do that as well.
further
I mean,
upstream.
I'm just saying, whether they surround it where they're gonna do the work, or they extend it down low. Either way, as long as there's a silt sock between the wetlands and the.
I think you're saying both.
I am saying both, not one
Okay.
or the other.
Oh,
Yep.
both, okay.
Yeah, I'm saying the discharge should be controlled unto itself, and the silt sock is that last line of defense.
All right.
Okay.
So I think we want to probably hold off on approving this tonight until we get that shown on this drawing.
Okay. Let me have one more question. I'm not a carpenter, but I know that odd dimensions usually raises hell with a carpenter. Why would they make it 38.5 feet? Why wouldn't they make it like 36? And that would get it away, closer away from the 50.
Well, the existing house is a Victorian house. So I think, I haven't seen the architectural plans, but I think they're trying to kind of match the same architecture that's currently there now. So I think that's what is likely why we have so many bump outs and odd dimensions.
Yeah, and the other side is 13.6. I have to make it 13.5.
A lot of wasted plywood,
Huh?
a lot of wasted sheathing.
It is.
It's okay.
I'm not paying, I'm not paying for
We're
it.
not paying for the carpentry.
You know, but I mean, and it's not I'm just really uncomfortable. When you're digging, it's 50 foot, no build, and you're going 50 feet, 8 inches, and you're in the no build when you're digging a 4-foot foundation.
Okay.
You know, so these are, I asked Amy that question the other day. If it's 50 foot, is it 50 foot stop, construction distance, or is it the foundation distance? Because it's
Foundation.
different
If you got a,
What about the footing?
in the footing.
no, the
Doesn't
footing's
count.
okay.
Yeah.
We got it's usually the corner of the foundation is what
Yeah,
we're looking for.
that's-
So if you have an overhang for your sill and your sheathing and your shingles, it's gonna be about another
Well,
inch.
that's
over
fine,
to-
I'm not talking about, I'm talking about digging.
Oh,
Good.
the physical work to get. The physical digging to get the foundation in.
Yeah,
That's
Would,
allowed
would
within the
That's
be.
allowed, that's allowable.
Yeah, it's
Because
within the
not a-
limit of
it's only
work.
no structures, so.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
that's why I worry when I see 50 feet, 8 inches.
but excavating for the footings and the foundation, that's still some good, plenty of room between
Oh,
the
yeah.
two.
Oh, okay,
No, that's-
all right, so we need to continue.
I mean, not if you're doing an 8-foot foundation, but this is just a frost wall.
yeah.
Right.
I have
Only going out 4 or 5 feet.
one minor comment too, just if you're gonna be, if we're gonna have you revise the plan,
Yeah.
the mulch sock kind of goes behind the 25-foot no disturb zone. no disturb line. I know it's not your intent to disturb out there, but if you bring it up front, contractors tend to
Yeah,
move around up to the, they consider that the limit of work. So.
yeah.
Okay, not a problem.
Okay.
Good catch, Tony.
So we need a motion to continue.
Second.
To
All those in favor say aye.
close
Opposed, and that's unanimous.
Are you having a meeting next month?
Yeah.
December.
on
December,
the
yes.
8th,
The 8th?
12/8, yep,
Okay, great.
yep. So dewatering up between 104 and 102 with its own erosion controls, plus extending erosion controls up behind the garage. Moving erosion controls out of the 25. Is that right?
Yeah.
That's what we're looking for. Okay,
And
just want to make sure.
We have a dewatering detail.
And a dewatering detail.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, next one's yours, Maureen. It's
Thanks, Maureen.
177 Great Pond Road.
Okay, so the commission may recall, this has been ongoing for a bit. My client had received an enforcement. Part of the enforcement order, the commission requested that he flag the entire property, and file an ANRAD with the commission. So, geez, I met Amy out there, number of different site visits, I think, through the summer, and we made a number of plan changes to the wetland boundary. I can go through the plan changes if the commission likes.
You listed them in your letter, though.
Right, I listed them in my letter, and they're colored on the plan in yellow. And each flag change has a -1. So it'd be 16C-1, 37B-1. All of the flag changes that were made in the field, they were field located and surveyed in. As a result of the field changes, all the associated buffer zones have been adjusted and are now shown on the plan. In addition, I am requesting the commission to recognize 4 areas that are shown on the plan in orange color as land and agricultural use. Enclosed in the package was a USDA plan that recognizes the 4 areas that are land and agricultural use, as well as an affidavit from Michael Davidowitz from Crescent Farm, attesting that he has cut and harvested the hay for purchase at this property from the years 2005 through 2019. In addition, my client is very passionate about agricultural activities, and he has a number of commodities on the property, including chicken eggs, a number of fruit trees, honey. He's establishing honeybees on this property as well. So I'd like to open it up to the commission with any questions or concerns.
Thank you. Joe?
I appreciate the hope that we make a determination on the agricultural use, and I think it's a valid request. I'm ill-equipped to deal with it without Al at the table, where he's our agricultural consult on the commission. And so I think on that aspect alone, I think we should wait for Al to chime in. But I think with regards to the resource areas, the BVW, if there's an agreement between Amy, and I hear there is, and the applicant, then I'm okay with establishing that line being what it is. I do know, I think, the genesis for us asking for the ANRAD for all of it is there were this overlapping of agricultural uses near and within resource areas, and things that we needed to be aware of.
Right.
And so I think it's fair game that we're almost there, but I really do need Al to help me through this understanding of the use. And I'm all set.
Jack?
Yeah, I'm not sure why we're talking about agricultural use on an ANRAD. The main emphasis is to verify the accuracy of the line and the wetland flags, which is, looks like it's taken a lot of effort to do that, but I'll defer to your comment, Joe, on, because I don't know really anything about the agricultural uses, and Al certainly does.
Well, let me, rather than guess, let's just ask the applicant's representative. I think my suspicion, or my guess is that because some of the land disturbance in resource areas has occurred, that's occurred because of agricultural use, and you're looking to perhaps consider some extension of exemption by that action. And because I do see that there are some of these areas disturbed are in fact wetland areas.
Right, so that's what originally triggered the enforcement order, because a tractor went through a cattail marsh. But it was always the intent of the homeowner to use this land to put it in agricultural use. And here with me tonight is Attorney Frank DeLuna from Smolak and Vaughn that can maybe answer some of the questions you have regarding land and agricultural use.
And I mean, it's great to have that opportunity, but I think he's just talking to someone who's not gonna understand it. I really need Al here to hear that directly. And that's, it's the chairman's call on that, but I'm not sure what I'm gonna get out of hearing it without Al's
I agree, but
understanding.
for us to give them some feedback on what we see. You're uncomfortable, and I am also, but I'm not familiar with this agricultural, if it was or it is, or how, it has to generate revenue for X number of years.
Al knows those
I know, this
regulations
applicant,
down pat.
right, and this applicant hasn't owned the property long enough to say that he generated X number of dollars.
I do have two quick questions, though, about the process in that, as I understand, land and agricultural use is not a resource area, correct? So if it's not a resource area, we can't establish it through the NRAD process.
I don't understand why,
I'm right here. We put it on the,
You can come on up and use the microphone.
Yeah,
I can hear you, but the folks at home can't.
It's not a determination to be made under the...
Frank DeLuna from Smolak and Vaughn. Just a couple of things, Mr. Napoli. Don't confuse chapter land, chapter 61A, with land and agricultural use. The land and agricultural use under the Wetland Protection Act doesn't have a commodity production requirement. In other words, you're looking at, for 61A purposes, you look at $500 for the first 5 acres and $5 for every acre thereafter. That's not applicable to 310 CMR 10.04. And why it was put on there, I actually asked it to be put on those plans just so there's no question that we are requesting the agricultural exemption to be recognized.
I just don't think that the NRAD process or the order of resource area delineation can establish that. I think that it's only for the determination of resource areas, and I'd have to check, I don't have my code with me, I don't even know if it establishes buffer zones, which is what this plan is asking.
Land and agricultural use can be within a resource area.
But
However,
it
the
is not a-
activities being conducted on that land are the exempt activities.
Correct, but if you look at what the NRAD process is for, is it establishing the limits of resource areas,
Correct.
not establishing the limits of historic use or establishing lands in agricultural. We're only approving the resource area, and I don't believe we even approved the buffer zone associated with it. It's only the locations of the resource area.
That's all we're requesting.
That's
Yeah,
it.
and I think that was my point exactly by talking about the exemption. It's almost counterintuitive to ask for the exemption without first understanding the resource. So we have to determine the resource area. If they believe they're exempt, they flex their muscles
They
with
file a
regards to
request
their
for
own
determination of
through a
applicability.
separate process.
Right.
Not through the NRAD process.
Actually, we don't have to file a request for determination of applicability.
You may be right on that, but you'd have to file some, if we questioned it, which obviously we have, you would then have to establish some.
So I think it's,
Look, we can work
They're
through
just
it when
two
Al's
separate
here.
processes.
I think relative to this process, it's the green line and only the green line.
That is my understanding.
Mine too.
Well, we have a perennial stream that runs through the property.
Well, so the riverfront area is a
Okay.
resource area.
It is.
So that
And-
buffer zone would be something that we would have
So-
to establish.
They cited 310 CMR 10.5823C, where the riverfront area is only 100 feet away from the mean high water for new agriculture or aquaculture activities. For new,
I think that's a fact of trying to have your cake and eat it too. So if you're new, you wouldn't qualify for the exemptions for land under agricultural use. If you're saying you've always been under land under agricultural use, then you wouldn't be new farming
right.
or horticulture. So, I mean, I think you get one or the other, you just don't get.
That's the vicious cycle, yes.
Yeah, no, that's, I mean, if you can point me to case law or something else otherwise when you come back, I mean, that's totally different. I'm just going based off of my knowledge of the act, so, you know.
No, that's fine. Like I said, I'm the one that requested it to be on the
Yeah.
plan, only, we want to be upfront about
Right.
what's going on, and I want to be transparent. I don't want someone to come on later and say, well, why didn't you tell us it was land and agricultural use? That's why it's on there.
I think it's very good that you provided that, but I think the determination that we're going to consider under the ANRAD is simply establishing what that resource area is on this property.
The green line.
And then,
And anything else that may be missing from the,
and then the riverfront area would
the
be.
riverfront is the reddish line, pinkish line?
It's brown.
I guess it's brown.
It's
So brown is the river, and then the riverfront area,
Is
because,
they're
yeah.
showing 100 feet on either
Because unlike the
side.
buffer zone, it is its own resource area.
Right.
So if the commission feels uncomfortable acknowledging the land and agricultural use at this time, what's the appropriate time? And, you know, this is something that for my client and for the commission, I think there's a lot of value in determining this and getting on a common ground about this.
So I think the process is, what is the resource area, get it on record. And I don't think we have a problem with that. I think we have a great comfort in doing that. And that if we feel that given the resource area, there are activities that we question, we as a commission or as a community question, we determine whether that's an enforcement action or simply it's call them in for information. And there's a separate consideration, separate proceeding that's going to determine whether that agricultural use is appropriate or not, or allowed or not, and whether it's exempt or not, and then we'll document that through another process, but not through this process. I mean, that's the way I see it.
No, I would.
And I think having the information is very helpful to make the next conversation happen.
Yeah, and then
Okay,
there's-
so then we have to wait for an activity to occur on the property and another possible violation issued by the commission to come back in front of the commission to take a look at that?
I believe if you look under the farm exemptions, you're allowed certain activities, and your requirement would just be to put Amy on notice. And I'll take a look at it more closely when I get back.
That's not correct.
There is no requirement. It's farming and wetland resource areas. So we recognize that there are wetland resource areas that are in agricultural use. And there are certain activities that are exempt, provided it's land and agricultural use. So that's why it's there. It's in the resource area, and it would be disturbed. It is disturbable because that is one of the allowed activities under either normal maintenance or normal improvement of land and agricultural use.
Again, I'd have to look at the regs. I thought there was something that.
Look at more than the regs. There's a publication out
Yes,
there.
the farm guide as well. That's,
Right, and I think Carlisle, oh, you have it,
oh,
okay.
yeah, no, that's, it's-
And I think that's very useful to explain.
We were just hoping to get everybody on the same page during this process, so there's no questions in the future. I understand the commission's position of just wanting to proceed with the ANRAD, but we were hoping to avoid headaches in the future. And that's why we put the information on the plan and presented it to the commission as part of this process.
I just have a question. The areas that you are using in as agriculture now. Is that what your plan is, to just use those areas, or are you planning on expanding?
It
Just-
would be cross-commoditizing. We can't expand into the resource areas. We can use, without permission from the Concom, all right? We can use the existing resource areas that are in agricultural use, and we can cross-commoditize within those areas.
What does it mean cross-commoditized?
Change crops.
Change
Yeah.
crops.
So you could put,
So I can go from a hay field to an apple
Yeah,
orchard.
sure.
that's, I do think if you strip vegetation though, like you have to go vegetation to vegetation if you wanted to go raise cattle in there or
No.
something like that. Is it still allowed?
You can go from pasture to cattle. You can go from row crop to cattle.
All right. No, it's been a while since I've dealt with the farm. The ANRAD process, I'm pretty well versed in the.
So let's try to rein this back in. I mean, I'm still very much uneasy without having Al participate in this conversation. He's our expert. It also gives us an opportunity to, now that we have what we have and what we know,
Yep,
and the guidance of the manual,
yep.
the guide, and the regs, I think we can ask questions internally, you know, what do we have here? And then if we have a better understanding of what we have here, we could then give them guidance of what that step is to memorialize what it is they have done,
Yep.
and what it is they might do, and what this resource really means to all of that. Because right now, I just don't have enough, you know. Is haying, a letter saying I've hayed it since 2005 adequate? I don't know. Maybe it is.
Yeah.
I just don't know.
There's
I don't know.
There's a 5-year window, and that's why the dates become important.
5-year look back?
Yeah, your land can lie inactive. Doesn't even have to be fallow or under a commodity plan, as it can be inactive for up to 5 years.
That could be totally true, and I don't doubt you one bit, and I applaud your transparency on this too. The ANRAD is a specific instrument,
Right.
so it has boundaries on what we approve and what we don't approve, and frankly, I don't know where agricultural use falls into that specific instrument, but that's what we're dealing with tonight, is just the ANRAD. And,
Then my point of
and so
considering it at a
that's-
future meeting
That's where
was,
we're confined.
is if they're asking us to include the resource area, the agricultural use areas, and if we are in fact able to, I don't have that clarity now, but if we are able to, if we act on the ANRAD, they're gonna have to go and do something else later on. So why don't we just leave this open in knowing that, I think I'm hearing, we're comfortable with the line that's flagged, we're comfortable with the river, and we're comfortable with the riverfront area as shown. Those are the resource areas.
Well, they're
Correct?
looking for an exemption to 100 feet, which is only applicable to new agricultural uses.
Right, so again, if, we're saying we're not gonna ask for any more delineation, we're not gonna ask for any more
Right, but the-
resource area information.
Whether or not the 100-foot or the 200-foot applies would be,
Both the riverfront and the outer areas.
yes, would be something of the ANRAD would cover.
True.
So I think my point is, I think we can make that, rather than 2 steps now
Yeah.
on the ANRAD and another step later on, and maybe have to reopen it, why just leave this open, and at that next meeting,
Yeah.
put the whole darn thing to bed.
I think that's plenty of time to,
I mean, that would be great if we can all get on the same page.
Yep.
And then everybody knows where the limits are for the land and agricultural use, and we can move forward. And that really was the intent of including this in this process.
I think we're going in the right direction, just that we have questions on
Absolutely.
the whole thing, so.
Not a problem.
And I would feel more comfortable with Al here.
No problem at all.
So if we continue to the next meeting,
Sure.
I think it would be very helpful. What I saw and what I think I would do, I don't think we're that far off.
Okay. Well, then, with that, request to continue to December.
yeah, December 8th.
Before we go, maybe you pointed out that there's a feature, a feature on the site that is missing from the survey, which is the swimming
Oh,
pool.
the swimming pool.
So could that be included when we look at this again?
Yes. You're right. I didn't even
I'm
notice
like,
that.
wow, that's kind of a big
Okay.
existing condition we should know about. Thank you, Jack.
Thank you.
It's going to be continued to December
8th.
8th.
All right, motion?
Move that we continue to December 8th.
Second?
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy hot. She's got the They're open.
They're open. I know, it's cranking.
All right, next one is COC, a partial COC for 242-1739 Ray Street subdivision. Ben, we can save a lot of time and discussion. I'm not comfortable with any bond reduction on this here, because I've asked, since we started this project, that the stormwater be certified and cleaned. The finished pavement is in there. It's only a $25,000 bond, I think, right?
25?
25? I mean, if there's anywhere near the money, to, if we reduce it to cover what's left on this project.
There's nothing left, it's done. They paved it Wednesday.
The top is down?
Top is down, yep.
It's-
Curbing is in, everything is done.
So we're just looking for the certified of the stormwater areas?
Yeah, we haven't
The
done
wide
that
side?
yet.
I submitted my certifications of the stormwater areas. We redid the calculations. We took the original calcs, re-put them into HydroCAD. They weren't done by us. So we put them into HydroCAD, adjusted all the areas to what's there, and the stormwater still meets the requirements. We did, when we were building this, the subdivision, we added a row of infiltrators on one of the stormwater areas, just to give us more room, because we knew we might be a little bit over on some of the areas, which turned out to be a good thing. The original calculations had eliminated a driveway, or they didn't include one of the driveways, so we did have an increase. We've shown the differences on the plan.
How the catch basins have been cleaned and stuff also?
Catch basins need to be cleaned. The one last item we have are to clean the catch basins and enter into a maintenance agreement with, between a firm that's gonna do the maintenance for 1 year with the homeowners association. We're actually gonna do that. Ranger Engineering is gonna be that contractor. We'll have someone clean the catch basins and do that work. That's just a subcontractor. And then we'll do all the inspection work that's required, file all the reports.
My main concern in this has been that detention pond that you're sharing with, I don't know, who is that? Is it North Cross or is it the town?
It was built, it was part of North Cross. You know, I think it's on, I'm not even sure the status of the easement there, whether it had one or not, but they've cleaned that, they've been maintaining it. They fixed the outlet pipe on that.
So the calculation, you figured out the calculation for the stormwater for that?
The calculations are in there. I mean, we didn't redo the areas on that. We used what they had for that particular stormwater area, because that didn't change as part of the construction.
Wouldn't it have been increased with your water on to North Cross's subdivision?
The way it was analyzed with two design points. One was into the wetlands on, I guess it'd be the south side of Ray Street, above the culverts under Ray Street. And then it was downstream from the culverts, which is where that detention pond ties in. Both of them have a reduction you know, they had a reduction in the approved plans, and they still have a reduction in the as-built plans.
So do we know whose it is?
I don't know. I don't know. I'm not sure if there's an easement there. You know, the Inneses who built the project, they did get permission from the owner to go in there and clean it and you know, clear the brush out of there and clear the trash. So and they've been maintaining it all along. I don't know, I assume it's in an easement as part of the North Cross subdivision.
So it's not the town's. My thing is that once we approve this, and your calculations are correct, which I'm sure they are, but 5 years down the road, that thing's not maintained.
I believe it's
Where
part of
does
the.
the water go?
It's part of the maintenance contract to maintain that area along, you know.
You were doing this rodeo for a long time. You know what you can do with homeowners associations.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you know, it's a,
And that's what I'm trying to
it's something that everybody's dealing with. How do we're building all these structures. Who maintains them? I mean, we're doing a project in Billerica. It was built in 2005, and we're going in to do the first maintenance as part of an addition on the building. You know, and the stormwater systems are junk, and we're rebuilding them. How do you know, it's.
Well, actually, the EPA MS4 permit, we're in year 4 of the second permit.
Right.
Which is, it's explicit. The responsible party, quote unquote,
Right.
is responsible for doing it and reporting it annually. And the town on private systems, not town-owned systems,
Yep.
have to do those reports and provide them to EPA on the annual report every single September. So that's pretty clear. Now, the trick is, who is that responsible party and how do you get them to do it? On this subdivision, what I'm remembering, there's the newer houses.
Right.
There's that group that's well-defined. But part of the concerns of extending that roadway up were the other part of this project, which was not necessarily, other part of this area, which was not part of this project, that relied on all of this infrastructure.
Pre-existing
Infrastructure that was approved into the intention of being accepted, but has never been accepted. That's my recollection. I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong, but I don't think I am.
I don't think North Cross is accepted.
I don't think it is accepted, so, but the intention was for it to be completed and accepted, and therefore it would have become a town-owned facility. It never got there. So it's one of those stormwater systems in limbo.
Well, this is one of the shootout at Oki Corral time of building. where
So
people-
I'm
where
clear,
developers
I'm
walk
comfortable
away.
with what Ben's saying is that what they've done up top, there's no question that they're going to maintain that through your contract. Are you saying that you're also obligated to maintain this other structure, or are you saying you're not?
We would do what they've been doing on that structure is keeping it clear and removing any trash and debris. So that would be part of what we would do for the first year under that contract term.
First year only, not perpetuity.
Right, but that's the requirement of the order of conditions. It's just a one-year contract. It's supposed to renew, you know, again, is that a condition that survives the order and can be, you know, enforced?
Well, O&M plans are usually a perpetual condition. They usually are.
Right. So then it becomes, you know, an enforcement issue. But, I mean, there's a point where the bond has to be given up. It can't just sit there forever just because you think, oh, well, maybe nobody's going to maintain it. I mean, that's not the intent of a performance bond. I mean, they built the subdivision, it's there. The maintenance goes into the next phase, and I guess the only way to enforce that is to, you know, have enforcement orders
Against who?
The owner.
against the
The
owner of the
homeowners
property.
association.
The association, the owner of the property. I think technically you have to issue it to the owner of the property.
And I don't want to wax philosophical on this, but this is the flaw in the MS4 permit. You know, they use the famous phrase of responsible party, but understanding who that is at any given time and how it may change. You know, one guy moves out, he was the homeowner chairman, there's a new association, they don't read what they've bought, and they don't, that ongoing thing. That's why they expect it every single year. They're supposed to issue a report, name all those responsible parties, their contact information, everything else, who the contractor is, who it will be for the next year, should be all reported. And the best you're gonna get is a one-year window. When it blows up, you know there's gonna be a problem in the future. You can't really do anything until it actually happens. But that's the flaw of the system.
Well, this one here, this subdivision, if that street is ever accepted, now the town knows. And you know how good the town does for cleaning stormwater. That's why Jen and I used to have disputes all the time about rain gardens. They're beautiful, but we don't have anybody to maintain them.
So when it comes to a business or a commercial establishment who needs to have their site recertified every single year, whether it's through a license or through a business permit or whatever, there's always that carrot hanging out that you got to get your check mark, make sure your stormwater reports, and those we've got pretty good confidence. We're getting those on a regular basis, I would think. But smaller homeowners associations and even the town themselves, the roads that we accept, we are supposed to get O&M plans every single year.
Right.
We don't. My point is, really, not saying all of that is, to what extent do you say we're satisfied that the subdivision's been built, it's analyzed, it's documented, the as-built plans are in, barring this 1 year of additional maintenance and responsibility, how much bond is reasonable to hold until this thing becomes somebody else's issue? It sounds to me like if you've got, and I'm assuming the calculations are correct, and the as-built plans look like they're all here, you've got an O&M plan is already in place for this, right? And now you're just simply looking to submit the contract for next year's work.
Right.
It sounds like it's the value of catch basin cleaning. It's the value of carrying out that 1 year plan, because that would complete the process under this NOI. And then for all other arguments, I think their project is complete.
Well,
Is it 5,000? Is it 2,000? Is it 20,000? It's not the full 25. That's why I think holding all of it, it's not.
Well,
it's not
historically, we've
reasonable.
never given away more than half. So,
We never had one that's been more, physical work to be done. But there was no restoration or replication. You've gone through, there's no growing season issue.
So what needs to be done? I mean, that's a partial CSC.
It's carrying out 1 year of O&M.
He's done the final coat of paving. Okay, check that off the list. Is there still tree planting to be done?
Tree planting is done, and there are a few stone bounds that have to go in. We're working on them.
Stone bounds, okay. Like stone walls?
No, those are the markers along the road,
Okay,
Your monuments,
yeah.
road.
all outside of the buffer zone.
Any wetland monumentation left?
I think there needs to be additional wetland markers out there. I was counting them, and I think it needs to wrap up along the last 3 lots.
Mhm.
I think
well, we
the
got,
notations drop
There-
off, like
there's
they
a
stop
checklist that
and
has
they
to
don't
be done.
continue up, so.
Historically,
need
we
a
don't
few-
do more than
a
half.
bunch more of those.
so if we give them half, that would make them more work quicker to get the rest of the bond.
I was gonna put it out for discussion and make it in the form of a motion, is that we grant a partial certificate releasing $15,000 and holding $10,000 for the balance of the work until complete. That was what I was gonna put out for discussion. I'd make that in the form of a motion if we wanna discuss it, see if the applicant says.
So there are two things, there's 2 orders of conditions on this. So if you recall, the 7 lots and the road were put under an order of conditions, but it did not include the houses in the buffer zone. We had to come back, and that's under file 242-1755. So lots 1, 2, and 3 were not included in the original order for the road. 4, 5, 6, and 7 were in the original order. We'd like partial COCs for those lots, because the homeowners want to come in and do their work. We've got an outstanding order of conditions with a $25,000 bond. If that homeowner screws up, then you're going to be looking at the developer's bond, which I don't think is fair. So we want to at least get those out from under the order of conditions, and that's just the lots themselves. The road and the drainage system will still be there. I mean, we've supplied all the certifications. So we'd like to get a PCOC for the lots under that first order. They're also covered under a second order for the houses themselves. We'd like to get a full certificate of compliance to get those houses out of their order.
That's 4 through 7.
That-
That's the ones 4 through 7?
4 through 7, correct, yep.
Fine. Well, I'm still gonna stick to my guns. I like to be consistent. We never give more than 50%. I know he's got a lot of it done, but like Al would say, money.
What I'm
50%,
hearing, there were three things you're asking here. Partial from the bigger order condition,
right,
complete certificate of compliance for the lots that were coming in for houses individually.
right,
The third thing is a bond reduction. Those are the three things you're asking
right.
for.
And if it's 50%, that would be acceptable. I mean, 50% is fine. If that's the
So check-
commission's,
Check mark number one. Check number two we're looking for is the lots that are looking for full compliance. Are they fully compliant? Do we have
4
everything?
through 7 under,
1755.
1755, they are, and I would recommend issuing a full and complete for 1755.
Check mark number two.
Okay. And that's 10 grand for
Check
the
number
bond.
three
The bond
is,
for that was
is what we were
10,000.
just discussing, which is the overall project on the roadway, which requires one more year of O&M,
Yep.
some catch basin cleaning, the roadway's now paved, we have all the, we think we have all the documentation. And if that's the case, all you're looking at that is partial releases for the lots
Right,
and the bond reduction. The bond
Right.
reduction, we got that first check mark.
right.
The partials on the houses along that stretch of roadway, are those houses all complete and compliant?
Yes, so we've already released Lot 1 and Lot 2 under 1739. So we just have Lot 3 under 1739 that needs to be partial, released under a partial.
I think we just got a Yahtzee.
Well, it's 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, because 4, 5, 6, and 7 are under the original order
Oh.
for grading,
Oh, I see.
clearing in the buffer
I
zone,
got you.
but it didn't include the house construction itself. So they're really, they're
I
covered
have-
by 2
okay.
orders.
Gotcha.
So
All right.
We're just
So
trying to get them out.
3, 4, 5,
You know, the longer
6,
they
7,
sit,
So
the
we
more
need two
problems
actions.
we
We need a
have.
vote to release the houses
from
with a
1739.
complete certificate of compliance for 4, 5, 6, and 7, right? Correct?
Yeah,
That's the next item on the agenda.
Next item on the agenda.
All right.
But I think it makes sense to talk about them together. We can make
Yeah,
separate actions.
Right.
And the first action would be to grant a partial certificate of compliance for that one lot that remains. Which one is that?
No, there's 5.
Actually, there's 5.
Yep.
So they
That's
want to
under-
release all of the lots from that first order of conditions, 1739. So there's no questions moving forward for
Which was
title.
With the
4 through
houses.
7.
Right.
1 through 7. Oh, I got it because of the overlap, kind of, okay.
Right.
And the second part of that same motion is to reduce the bond by $12,500, thus holding $12,500 for the balance.
Okay?
The 12.5 is for the roadway.
Yep.
Roadway's paved. It's to complete the project.
Stormwater,
The roadway.
Yeah,
Yeah.
markers.
yeah, that's the roadway.
Yeah.
That'd be a 50% bond reduction.
So that's the motion they make. The first motion is to reduce the bond by 12.5, holding 12.5, and to grant the partial certificate of compliance to all the houses along the road. And that's-
No, the other one, the 4 through 7, they're looking for full compliance,
Yeah,
correct?
so
That's a separate
Separate order.
Separate action.
So under 242, 1793, your motion is to release a partial release of the bond of 12,500,
Correct.
leaving 12,500,
Yeah,
and partial certificate of compliance for releasing the rest of the lots under that original subdivision order.
Correct.
And you're happy with releasing those lots?
I am.
Okay.
So there's 25 grand in total bond for,
The subdivision roadway, 1739.
and then we release the whole $10,000 bond for the lots that are, okay. Yeah, no, that
1755.
that makes sense to me.
Yep.
So that's the first motion I made. We need to vote that. We second vote it.
Okay.
We're going there.
Okay, we have a motion. We have a,
Second.
all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's unanimous.
My second motion,
242-1755.
1755, is to grant a certificate of compliance.
Full and complete certificate of compliance.
Period.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's unanimous.
Okay.
Ben, I wasn't trying to single you out,
No, I understand.
but it's,
It's like the 50-foot buffer zone. It's hard and fast.
I just have questions, because the only way I'm gonna learn anything,
Yep.
even though I've been here a long time, the only way I'm gonna learn is if I ask questions.
Just an FYI, in permit year 4 in New England, your Region 1 EPA, the MS4 permit, the thing they are focusing on is ongoing operations and maintenance.
If they
It
give you
is
some
where
money-
every town across New England is either gonna soar or fall on their face.
Yeah, they need to give the town some money to hire somebody to police it. It's the only way it's gonna happen.
There's talking about on water bills, it's gonna be water, sewer, and MS4.
And yeah.
I created the first stormwater in Massachusetts, stormwater utility, when I was in Milton.
Nice.
Thank you. It is my fault. I've only been doing NIPTs for 25 years.
All right. Next one is 242-1734, 984th Street.
All right.
Commissioner will recall, this order was issued in May of 2018. Governed raising of an existing unpermitted above-ground pool, deck, wall, and shed, and construction of an in-ground lap pool, deck, pool house, stairs, stone patio, retaining wall, planting beds, associated grading, landscaping, utilities, within 100-foot buffer zone to BBW, and restoration of the 25-foot no-disturb zone with plantings. Deviations to the approved plan have been noted in the engineer's certification letter, most of which the project elements are either further away from the wetland or footprints of proposed patios were smaller than proposed. Let's see. Vegetable garden is a little bit larger than was proposed, but is still within the previously disturbed footprint of the above-ground pool and that wall. Plantings in the 25 are generally in good health. There is some animal browsing apparent. 2 white pines were planted instead of 3, but all the high bush and low bush blueberries were installed. Ferns have died back due to the season. Site stable and in substantial compliance. The as-built plan actually has been updated to reflect the 50-foot no-build off the Wetland Series A, so I have that. So we're all set. So I'm recommending issuing a full and complete certificate of compliance.
Thank you. Joe?
No question?
Jack?
I guess I'm a little confused on on the third bullet on the compliance letter by Stephen Dresser. It says, the stone patio nearer the wetlands was reduced and is further from the wetlands. So is it nearer or is it further?
There's 2 stone patios, so he's just differentiating.
The nearer one is further away.
It should say the closest one to the
Yes.
wetland is further away.
Right. Okay, so that's a positive change.
Yeah.
And I'm good. All set.
No question.
Motion?
Move we issue a full and complete certificate of compliance with ongoing conditions. That's it, for 242-1734.
Second for discussion, the 50-foot no build, is that now
No,
included?
yeah, we have
Yeah.
it.
We did.
I just didn't
So we
download
have
it.
it.
I've received it.
Okay, so second is good.
Yep.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's unanimous. Thank you.
next one is enforcement order, 40 Flagship Drive.
So unfortunately, the applicant couldn't be here tonight. He had a previous engagement. We are going to be getting the notice of intent tomorrow. Site is stable. They're not pumping. Two frac tanks are there. They're full. They're being flocked. They had ordered a bunch new filters, but they got the wrong size, so they're waiting for the 0.5. And they're just in a holding pattern right now, so status quo.
So they're not discharging
No,
anything? Yeah.
and Taylor and I go by, each of us at least once a day each, so.
That's a good idea based on their history.
Yes, yeah.
And don't forget, we talked about on number of visitations,
Yeah.
that you charge accordingly.
I haven't been, but,
We-
but I
we-
mean,
We put
I
a
think we should talk about it.
reg in a long time ago, when Jen was here, that if they came more than twice to inspect the site, that we charged, because these two are on the road all the time. And then they have to write orders, they have to write all kinds of things. So they're on the road almost all day, and then they got stuff in the office. So we made a fee charge. I don't recommend, I think it's only $25, right? That if they, after 2 times, that what started it all was that Merrimack,
Oh, condos?
Yeah.
I mean, I know myself, I did at least 10 site reviews, myself. And Heidi probably was there 30 times. And Jen was probably there 20 times. You know, I mean, it burdens the staff. So I know we put it in place a couple of years ago, but it's been kind of like, staff has been reluctant to do it. If you guys are uncomfortable with it, then forget it, but I'm just saying it.
Well, I remember when that part of our regulation was drafted, and it's certainly fair. I don't think we've ever flexed our muscle on that ever before, but it still remains to be fair. The more administrative burden you have because of lack of performance or just the opposite, lack of non-compliance in the field, necessitates the visits, you should recapture that cost. But in the same token, that's exactly why there's a fine provision on a violation, and we typically, use that fine as a way to gain compliance. So sometimes we give some of that back as a way to keep the compliance wheel rolling. What are we talking about? Talking
It's,
a couple $100, a couple $1,000. I mean, is it really worth the fight?
well, it's
The principle's worth it for
yeah,
sure, but
yeah, it's $100 per each additional visit. That's what,
and that's because, is that on the violation, or is that because is that the standard inspections on an order of conditions? That's what I don't remember, because obviously this is
Well,
not,
it says additional inspection services include, but may not be limited to sewer, water tie-in inspections, re-inspections of any activity described herein, and any additional inspection required as a condition of the order of conditions.
of the order of conditions. There is no order of conditions.
No, not yet.
This is a violation.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. I think the fine mechanism is where that is addressed. I don't think that applies under enforcement action.
Sewer, water tie-in inspections. Well, I mean.
I think it ties it back to an order of conditions.
Yeah.
Is the applicant asking us to inspect?
But we find
No,
it necessary.
I know the answer to the
We find it
question.
necessary.
Yeah.
You're answering your own
Well,
questions.
no, I know, I just wanted to get it,
If they have a-
establish that fact.
And I'm not just pinning it on these guys. I mean, Taylor goes to Amazon at least once a week, right? At least.
Every other
Every
week.
other week. You know, we're not even gonna talk about,
Well,
Kent. We have Princeton properties that you probably went out as anybody. You know, it's one thing to us to go and review all this documentation, prove it, deny it, whatever. It's one thing else that we have to police it too. So I think we should put a mechanism, you know, in their business, if there's a change order, they get paid. So I think if these guys are monitoring and doing the work, you know, we make big bucks so that we're exempt. But staff should, you know, we got an operating budget that we have to adhere to. And if we have to send people out every day to police applicants, I think we should find a way of doing something about it.
I don't think we need to finalize this debate tonight. I think I'm ill-equipped with the freshness of that part of it. I remember writing it, I remember working on writing it, but that was a long time ago. I think that was written around a project that's permitted that has typical required inspections, and anything beyond that, because of something that went wrong on that order of conditions, that's where you can charge extra. And I believe that my personal feeling is that on a violation, the way you recapture that is 3 fines.
Okay? And I think we should, while we're addressing this, I think we should address if we have enforcement orders that last for 6 months. I think there should be some type of reparation for that.
Yeah, again, I'm not arguing the principle, because I understand completely there's a level of burden here that's greater than, 100 perfectly smooth running projects. There's one project that'll sap all your time, and this is it.
Yeah, we have a few. Well, we've had a few in a row that are requiring staff to be on site at least once a week, sometimes more.
So he can't be here, it's gonna be off discussion at the next meeting again anyway, probably.
Yep. So,
Let's just agree to better understand, let me read up on it for my own
Okay.
benefit. I mean, you wanna do something tonight on that?
No, I'm
no,
just
just
saying,
be aware of it,
but
right?
at some point, it's something we should address sooner than later,
Okay, understood.
right? All right, so we just need to,
continue to the 8th of
Okay.
December.
So moved.
Second.
all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, and that's unanimous. I'm sorry that I'm tying up the meeting. Next enforcement is 64 Nutmeg Lane.
So Greg Hockmuth has been engaged. He has delineated the wetlands early last week, and the surveyors are scheduled to go out there in the next few days. So no progress is being made in that respect, so we just hold the cease and desist in place. That's it.
Does the EO require them to submit a RDA or something?
We wanted the wetland delineated again and a plan to show, and then we'll figure out what level of permitting that would be required.
At some point it'll be
Okay.
So,
at some point. Next one is 268 Raleigh Tavern.
that's continued to the 8th.
Now, all right, because we're gonna have to get rid of this one before we go for
Yeah.
the RDA, right?
We'd have to do the RDA and then,
Yeah.
but we don't have,
Same deal,
just
that's
like-
tabled, that's just tabled till the next meeting.
Okay. Next one is 242, 1799, 243 Great Pond Road.
Alrighty. All right. So the commission will recall issuing an order of conditions that governs the construction of a deck reconstruction, patio, in a koi pond with retaining walls. So the project's underway. We received a monitoring report from Norse reporting that portions of the koi pond encroached into the conservation restriction area. So I issued an enforcement order, cease and desist work, do an interim as-built plan to figure out the level of encroachment into the conservation restriction. survey's done, but we don't have a plan yet. And based on so they restaked the edge of the CR, and, it's the southwesterly edge is definitely encroaching into the CR area. What did I have? Hold on. Wait a minute. Let me get the photo up. Here we go. So the picture here, so the stake with the orange flag is easement, and then you'll see the other stake right out here where my cursor is. Let's see, and then this other one. This might show it more clearly. Whoop. So work is stopped. We're waiting for an interim plan. The homeowner's here this evening. I've asked for the site to be stabilized for winter conditions. And I gave no indication as to whether the commission would entertain allowing it to remain within the conservation restriction area, but we can talk about that. So if you guys have questions for me or the homeowner, we can have that discussion.
I'm going to speak out of line. We spent some time with this, I don't remember it. We had the town attorney look at it to get the interpretation on the conservation restriction, and was access to get to do the work, and we approved that. Now we got the work, we just access to the work. Now the pond and everything else is encroached into the conservation restriction. So I think it's clearly a violation. Myself, I think everything should be put back as approved.
Well,
Because
I'm not even sure we have that kind of discretion. A CR is actually adopted by the state.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it's concrete.
Right.
And if we were to somehow waive it, we'd be in violation for the CR. So I hate to say it, if the CR says it's a prohibitive activity, it's gotta go. It's a state restriction.
Straight approved.
I agree, we have no discretion.
We have no
on that.
discretion at all
No.
whatsoever.
The line's well-defined, and so is the project, so I don't know that we have any flexibility at all in this.
I would say that it depends on the CR, but some of them, if you're the trustee of the CR, then you're in charge of making sure that it's adhered to, and you're the one that faces the fines versus the actual.
But the CR is usually
Yeah,
very, very clear of what's permitted activity, what's prohibited
No,
activity.
I remember going through this during
And we went
the
through
order,
it.
as to what we could and couldn't do, and we spent a lot of time looking at that CR, and like you said, town council looked at it as well.
As much as we may love the feature, we think that it's a nice thing, I mean, the reality is, it is a disturbance, and I think when it comes to the CR, we have.
Yeah, I don't think
we can
that's
do
something we
anything
have
on it, other than say,
discretion.
you must comply with the CR.
Yeah.
And we need to deliver that message. I don't know how it happened.
Can I explain?
Yeah.
Thank you.
This
So,
is the homeowner.
yeah, I'm the homeowner, Steve Boyko. I hired a contractor, and, I had the contractor do the plans. We came to you guys about a year ago, and the contractor was putting in the deck. And, they put all the stakes up. We had the surveyor come out, put all the stakes up. At some point, they knocked the stakes down. And so my pond contractor, who's here tonight, was never informed by the general contractor of the stakes, of the area. And so what we were doing, I have a picture if you want to see it, but what we were doing was maintaining very clear separation from the silt socks. Because I didn't know, he didn't know, that we were not supposed to be over here. So we built the pond, and as you'll see from this picture, which is just, a drone shot, there's about I don't know, maybe a foot of the pond that's in it. And, you know, we've now got, you know, it's an 11,000 gallon pond with 40 fish swimming around in it. And, you know, I guess the question that I've got is, when I read the CR, and this isn't, you know, I don't understand this stuff, but when I read the CR, it says I can't build. I can't put concrete, I can't put a structure. This is dirt.
You got a problem. And what you just described is something that's probably between you and your contractors and surveyors and your attorney. When it comes to that CR, we have to interpret it. It's not interpretable. It's pretty clear. We know what CRs mean and what they say. And knowing what they almost always say, I see this feature as not being allowed. Dirt or otherwise, it's a disturbance. Many CRs allow you to walk, passive recreation. If it's a meadow, it allows you to mow. It's very clearly defined, but this, in every aspect of a CR, is a disturbance that would almost always, I'll read it, specific to this one, is almost always prohibited activity. And I think you gotta fight, not with us. You know, our fight's gonna be pretty clear. It's gonna be, you know, it can't be here. And, but I don't think we're there yet. I think we need to read the CR and understand it before we say all that, but it seems like you should be concerned about that. And just trying to be fair, Amy said she was cautious to say that there wasn't guidance given, but I think this is the time to prepare for the worst and think that there's a likelihood that that's the case that's coming out.
The reason why I talked to Amy about that, about not giving any aspirations of being approved, because conservation, the restriction speaks for itself. So we didn't want, I was trying to explain to Amy that we don't want to give him any inkling that we could, you know, make this happen. That's why I said, and I'm.
And the project that came before us, I mean, it was fully compliant. What we approved was not.
Yeah, and if, I don't, the old plan with you, but it's more than a foot. It's more than a foot.
Yeah, I mean, and just to add to your, I don't want to take up time, but just to add to it, it's, conservation restrictions have intent, they have permitted uses, and they have prohibited uses. And the intent is usually to retain the area, the conservation restriction area to its, in its current and natural condition. There are permitted uses such as passive recreation, like Joe mentioned, okay? There are prohibited uses such as building, and I would be very surprised if building a koi pond would be one of the prohibited uses, okay? So,
One of the permitted uses. It would be prohibited.
or I think grading would be, yeah, anyway. Where it's not, where a koi pond or grading associated with that is not specifically called out in the order, I think you have to go back to the intent of the order, which is to have the conservation restriction area preserved in its natural condition. And it seems like part of that area wasn't, and the boundaries were well defined, so I'm with these guys. I don't know that we have any real discretion here. It seems pretty clear.
The thing is, if this was an NOI, and somebody expanded it X number of feet, we tell them to put it back. But if we're not, it could, because if we're gonna spend the time, back to the same thing, if we're gonna spend the time hammering out these orders, all these applications, and then people just do what they want, we might just stay home and watch the football game and have a cold beer.
Well, I mean, to be
Amy,
clear,
could you send a copy of that conservation restriction circulated to us as an official document so we can just bone up on it and know what we have here? Yeah. There may be something here that's unique.
The commission will recall that they came in with a plan that showed some of the stonework inside the CR. We went through the whole rigmarole of asking town council, looking it over ourselves, and determining that, yeah, we're not gonna, this isn't an allowable use inside the CR. The plan was revised to respect the CR completely.
That was just a walk.
And the argument was made that it was.
And the walkway, right.
The previously proposed was a de minimis alteration.
Right,
And we.
right.
And we put the halt on that because we were advised to do so. So, yeah, that's good history.
So you need us to ratify the CR? Actually,
Yes.
not the CR, the EO.
The OEO, yes. Yep.
Which we'll do. I think it is fair game to understand what the CR says for us, to interpret it, see if there is any wiggle room. And then we would have to revisit the EO at the next meeting and, give direction.
With it interim as-built.
What is your EO, so we're asking to ratify, what does your EO say right now? Is it simply
Cease and desist.
Stabilize and?
Prepare an interim as-built plan. And then from there, but it may be way more black and white than my language that, the interim as-built plan will show the encroachment that needs to be removed.
And stabilize for winter?
But yeah, that's something we need to add.
I don't think we're gonna look to have it removed during the winter. I think we would wait until.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying too, is that,
so-
we can ratify the EO as written, it doesn't, and then we can revisit what the ultimate
Okay.
action is through a separate action.
Yeah,
Okay.
and that would give you time as well to, if you find something in the CR that we missed and town council missed, we could consider it, but, allow us to look at the CR as well. But,
This conservation restriction is very straightforward.
yeah,
It's unfortunate for you, but it's very straightforward. I think you're gonna have a hard pill to talk them out of it.
Well, that was,
But that's your diligence and not ours.
no, that's,
Our hands are tied.
my recollection of it was very clear that nothing could be done, but again, without the document in front of me, I couldn't tell you.
Yes, we got legal interpretation from our town council.
oh, sure we did, I just want to read
I know
it
we
with
did.
my own eyes. We're about to,
Yeah, there's
we're about
about,
to order something harsh, and maybe it's justified because of the circumstance, and I don't mean anything personal, but before we do that, issue anything harsh, I really want to know what it is I'm doing, and making sure it's fair and severe, given the circumstances.
so, I'm happy to circulate this if you want to see this picture.
Could we see it?
Yeah, that would be great, thank you.
I'd like to have that in the record if we could.
And this is just my sketch on a drone connecting the dots on the stakes, so obviously the survey will show it much better. But the reason I wanted you to see that is that, the pond itself is a massive structure, right? And so we're talking about whatever that is, a foot or so of water, and then the embankment. So the alternative, as we've discussed on our team, is to put up a retaining wall that's inside the CR.
So don't do anything this time of year until we find out what it is, and even when we find out what it is during the winter, you probably won't do anything until sometime next spring or
Right.
summer, but we'll be reasonable with timing, but I think it'll be what we can do and what you can do.
Okay. But the retaining wall, will be a
date
massive
on that.
structure to hold back that 4 or 5 feet of earth that, will probably need to be something pretty solid, like concrete or something, and I don't know how that's any better than.
We're not even gonna consider that until I know what the CR says.
Okay.
And give you that guidance. Typical CRs, all that grading activity outside the 1 foot where the pond itself actually is, all that grading activity, that's typically all prohibited. So it may be a heck of a lot more than 1 foot.
Right, just that rock sitting out there.
Yeah. So
That's all what we prohibited.
So let's understand what we have first before we give any direction. But knowing that it's likely to be.
Joe, you can do what you want, but I think you're giving them false
What's that?
I think you're giving them false aspirations. I don't think that's gonna fly. There's a lot of disturbance in the.
Correct, but we're coming into the freezing.
No, I'm not
We're gonna
saying,
have
I'm
to
not
take that
saying they
pond
have
out
to
now.
do it tomorrow.
What I'm saying is, before we say to do that, let's be, I'm not trying to be optimistic at all. I'm trying to say that this can be very severe, and before we get there, let's give the complete guidance that's appropriate. And know this is one of.
Like I said, I feel for you, it's an unfortunate situation.
the contractor should go back groceries with Market Basket. If you give him a set of plans and he can't read them, he shouldn't be in the construction business. You know, if you guys, they were building a skyscraper. Look at the Leaning Tower of Pisa, and we're supposed to say it's okay. I mean, it's not gonna be pretty. I think you should get your lawyer and talk to your contractor, because he screwed up.
The order of conditions is required to be on site, and there were a number of conditions about staying out of the CR.
I mean, when you literally stand on site and you read the conditions of the order to the contractor, I don't know what else you can do.
So move that we ratify the EO as written and continue to a date unspecified.
Second.
Oh, shouldn't it be the next meeting, so they should be able to get some type of interpretation
Sure, okay.
in a month?
December 8th,
December 8th.
December 8th, sure.
It's not like it's 2 weeks, it's a month.
No, we can give better guidance at that meeting, yes.
Yeah,
Second.
Can I ask one question?
sure.
Sir, could you state your name, please?
Lotus Gardner, I'm the one who did the ponds. So I was there for the walkthrough with Amy, and I know that we talked about the winter stabilization, and just as far as that goes, because I've never been involved in one of these situations ever, is that something that after we're done, we just let you know and you just come to make sure that that's good? Okay.
Yep.
All right, that's my biggest question for right now.
Don't want the exposed soils mulched or hayed or,
Yeah, I didn't hear that.
I want the exposed soils to be mulched
Stabilized,
or.
to get it through the winter, carry it
Yeah,
through
to
the
get them
winter.
through the winter.
Yeah, because we still have like a big pile of loam in the front to clean up the front yard, and so we were just gonna knock that out after we knew that was fine at this meeting.
I would just see that, I wouldn't spread it.
You've 20 yards in the front yard. The front yard has nothing to, it's just the
Oh, I
access
thought you were
road.
just covering up your construction access.
It's just
'Cause
cleaning up.
You're gonna be back there, so
Yeah, but he doesn't have to look at it all winter, right? You know, I mean, it's not a big deal.
If you wanna take it out, take it out.
Do what you want.
Well, as long as it's outside the conservation restriction
It is,
zone.
it is, yeah. So I just want to make, I just didn't know how procedurally if we just needed to check in. That was my
Yeah.
big question and all that.
I'm just suggesting not doing anything, just to save your money, because
But yeah, if you have questions, just,
Yeah, I'll check.
I'd say, call Amy first.
Right.
It's money to spend.
I had asked Amy if we
Yes,
could
sir.
continue doing the rest of the work that's not in the CR, like the patio work, the electrical, the carpentry. Is that okay to continue?
Is that your, I mean, if it's in compliance with the order, and if it's adjacent to this area, and it's at peril to be ripped out and reworked, I don't know why you'd waste your time and effort.
It would not be what we'd be doing would be the deck. It would not need to be ripped up, because the deck is, I mean, I don't think anyone is suggesting the
Is
deck.
it a structural deck, above grade, or is this a patio deck? What do you?
It's
It's on
No.
There's
the
both.
aerial.
There's a structural deck and there's a patio.
And the walkway, the
So
patio.
patio work is
That was,
what?
we argued about
The
that.
patio work, we're bringing in the grill area, so there's like, there's stones that are standing
risk.
up.
It's at your peril.
Yeah, I mean, certainly it's under your permit, it's in compliance, but boy, depending on to what extent that pond gets affected, your deck might be compromised, your brand new deck might be compromised.
We can't advise you to do any work within the conservation restriction zone.
Right.
And I'd just leave it at that.
Right, but I
Yeah,
mean, the
we
rest of the work outside of the CR,
We don't, well, the rest of the work's outside the 100
He
buffer.
does
I don't
it
think we
at
have
his
any-
risk.
no, they're,
I'm just saying two different things,
Right?
hold on.
Isn't the deck in the,
Riverfront.
well, I guess a portion of the patio is in the 100-foot buffer, but the deck is outside. But again, like Joe said, not knowing what the future could hold, if you had to do something that could undermine a footing or something, it could.
It's in the riparian, it's in the riparian zone.
Oh, it's in the repair.
It is, yeah.
But the deck is already there. I mean, I guess that part of the impact is already existing.
Yeah,
I don't-
it's mostly the finish work.
his own peril,
It's just
I'd say.
finishing off the grill, the electric work, the last of the stuff that's up against the house. It's not, has nothing to do with the pond or the part that went over that.
Well, we
Totally
can't,
separate.
we can't give you guidance on that, because we don't know what impact this conservation restriction issue would be. So if you want to do, you do whatever you want,
Okay.
but if it's wrong, and it's gotta be ripped up,
Yeah.
it's his checkbook,
Don't
takes the
come-
beating.
come-
Oh. No, I think at this point, we're just trying to get the contractor to finish up his part so that he can get slated for it.
I think the contract owes you money.
Huh?
Not the same shape
I
as what,
think the contract owes you money.
Yeah, I think you have a lot of people.
look at the shape. Well, you can see it
You got
there.
an attorney, you got an attorney sitting right there, he's drilling for a lawsuit.
So I think I'd feel more comfortable if the homeowner could list out
That's the
exactly what he
approach, and
wants
this is
to do, what work he wants to continue with. Because if it's electrical or
Trenching or something that's in the
gassing
CR,
or
yeah.
whatever, I may
2
not
weeks, 2
care,
weeks ain't
but
gonna make any difference. What we should do is we'll continue for 2 weeks. And you can come back. And by then you'll know what you really wanna do. My suggestion is not, you do what you want. And in the meantime, you can try and research the conservation restriction. These guys are gonna review it, but I think you're running a dead horse on this one.
Yeah, I just don't know that we have the authority to do anything for the CR.
I don't think we do, we don't either. All we can do is be the enforcement arm of the restriction. We can't waive part of it.
can't waive it, right?
So, okay, we need a motion to continue.
So moved. I think that was part of my original motion.
That's it.
To ratify the CO and
Ratify
continue.
and continue.
Ratify EO and continue to 12/8,
12/8.
and I second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's unanimous. Sorry, we never better news for you.
Maybe next time. Thank you.
Yeah, hopefully, so. Decision.
Okay, decisions.
Decisions.
Did we close, we didn't close all of these,
We didn't
but we
close.
closed most of them.
We closed
Johnson,
everything
Oak,
except Milk Street.
Yeah.
Okay, so the first one is 242, 1816, 325 Johnson Street. Oh, they have an attorney?
It was his attorney, yeah.
That was his attorney?
Well, he was, yeah, for
I
both.
thought
He's
that was
with,
Marlon's attorney.
he's from Smolak and Law. He's
If I
from,
said you
John
had to take
Smolak's
the mask
office.
off?
Yeah, I'd say we're six.
Killing me.
Sweating, I know, oh, man. All right, so 325 Johnson.
Position 59, you're asking about the dewatering, and that's where my brain was going until I read this part of it. So there's a perennial stream upstream, up gradient in the backyard.
Yeah,
So there might be a likelihood
yeah,
you're gonna find water on that hill.
yeah, based on the,
And we didn't ask for that to be shown, I think as a matter of pre-construction, this is where we are, well, this is during construction. So on the
Yeah, so we're
pre-construction
gonna-
part, we should probably say they should they should propose a dewatering location.
yeah, okay.
And then have that,
And
have that built in
on-site
place.
built in place. Okay,
You want it built, right?
Usually, yeah.
Yeah.
Because they
Because
tried
we
that-
want to inspect it pre-construction.
because somebody tried that before.
Yeah,
Was it Leanne Drive? Well, we don't, we
It
don't.
was a retaining wall,
We
we
don't
wanted
think
to,
we'll
if we
Yeah,
needed
retaining
to.
wall. Yeah, we don't need the tension. I'm looking at the water right up to the property.
They ended up using them.
Right,
Yeah, they did.
right.
That's because we don't know anything.
Okay. I think the bond is right. 2,500.
Looks good.
Okay, any final questions?
Did we modify anything?
No?
Just the,
Just-
yeah,
just
just the
added.
dewatering.
Yep.
Dewatering into the pre-con.
Yeah. So, yeah, move that we adopt as amended.
Second?
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, that's unanimous. Next one is 242 1826 O Conway.
A lot of grading on this one, huh?
A lot.
Yeah, they're filling a bit in the back. I'd still like to,
The street likes granite. The street like, these people live on the street like
oh,
granite.
Michael. So we don't have the dewatering comment on this one, and I forget what the depth of the pool was. So they may,
They got a 4-foot retaining wall, right?
That's-
Even with a,
Yeah, so-
even with a 10-foot deep pool, you're only down 6 from
yeah, so they may
existing
be,
grade.
they may be okay, but.
Yeah, they're kind
There,
of high.
yeah, I mean,
And the
considering,
towest slope is where, that really runs out, doesn't it?
right,
Where the
considering
resources?
where the
Oh, that's
wetland,
true too, I forgot it drops.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's way, way out.
considering, oh, that doesn't, it's not showing it very well.
Yeah, no, but I remember the back of the site now, because that's why they were trying to catch up to grade with that grading in the back.
Yeah.
It's 72.3, is that the grade out back there? Is that what I'm looking at?
Something 71, 72,
Yeah,
and way up here with a, what?
83? Yeah, the wall's like 89 to 83.
So even a 10-foot deep pool,
Yeah, they should be
I think
fine.
they're gonna be way out of water table. So, yeah, I don't think it's an issue here.
Yeah, we don't.
Right, Jamie?
Yeah, so there's a grade.
Yeah, so, and actually, well, yeah, so at 94, they'd be cutting.
Maybe had something going on.
I guess so.
But won't they fill in?
Amy's gonna bring the
'Cause
files
they're gonna
down.
take,
Yep, so they're gonna fill
Right,
7 feet
fill.
here, so yeah, even, I'm just looking up here.
yeah,
You know, it's existing
Oh.
94,
Erosion
but they'd
control
only be
seems
5
to
feet
be
down. So
important
that,
on this
it runs with the slope, they should be fine.
That slope, rubble, stone wall,
And then, no, my only question is how'd you come up with the bond on this,
on the what?
on this one? Only because, that was
It's all hung up
like,
in the-
this is the only work in the buffer zone.
Right.
access
And I
easement,
still
kind of
haven't figured
forget
out
the
how they come up
details.
with bonds, that's why. This is the work in the buffer zone, and then the other one had work in the river front.
There's gonna be a
I'm just not going to scheme.
stage of this project where
I just trying to
don't know
figure
if
it
it
out
was.
there.
I've never-
All right, well, okay.
Jack raises the
Is
question
there-
on the
I'm sorry,
erosion
what-
control.
Say that again?
Jack raises a question on the erosion control, whether it's sufficient or not, I think. As they're showing a single straw wattle, stakes on either side, it's 12-inch diameter. So, most of that up in that far northerly corner is way beyond the toe of slope, that's probably adequate there. But in the area with the nearest with the propane tank
Yeah,
now,
mm-hmm.
there's some considerable filling there with only straw water. Is that
So-
enough? I guess if they
No,
have,
probably not.
But the condition says 12-inch mulch stock backed by entrenched stake silt fence.
So silt fence and smoke.
That's what the.
That's what our
And
condition,
then
That's
once
what our
that's in place,
condition
then
says it
the next thing they're gonna do is they're gonna set the stone, the rubble stone in,
Yeah.
and then fill behind it.
Yeah.
So that's probably stable enough.
Yeah, I think that would be, what's shown on the plan isn't as detailed as what's called out in the order, so just at the pre-con, make sure that
yeah.
they're aware.
Do you
Okay.
think we need hay bales, 20 hay bales or something?
Do we have the extra?
Yeah, what did I do for extras?
I don't think we're conditioning that, I'm just asking the question.
I said 50 extra feet of mulch stock,
Yep.
3 rolls of erosion control blanketing.
Yep, no, that's good, because it is a steep slope, so.
Okay, that works, that works.
We need Lou back.
3,500.
Vote. Where'd he go? So is my,
Condition 57,
yeah,
using the phrase "the rear slope," is that specific enough that somebody reading a plan and reading the condition knows what we're talking about?
57 or
It
60?
says, condition 71 says the rear slope be planted with,
Oh,
is it plethora?
yeah,
Is that the correct pronunciation?
yep. Yep,
I'm not even thinking, get
You
the
got
next
it.
one. But by saying the rear slope, is it clear what section we're talking about? Or do we mean all of the rear slope?
to be planted, so it's,
It's shown on the plan, right?
it's shown on the plan.
You're just specifying the species. Got it.
Yeah, and just that they're, that slope, that graded slope that they're gonna create and plant with plethora should be left.
Yes, after they're done,
And they're
don't go
done.
back and mow it.
Yeah,
Okay, so it's that whole slope. It's not any part of it, it's the whole darn thing.
yeah,
Okay, got it.
yep.
Fair enough.
Chairman will be back shortly to call the vote.
Okay. I didn't talk about the Wagon Wheel Estates order of conditions in this condition at all.
It only confuse things.
Okay, I want to make sure you didn't want me to. I thought so too, but I just want to make sure you're cool with it.
It would only dredge up the axis. Easement again.
Yep.
Amy, is staff aware of the heating and air conditioning problem up here? 'Cause this is wasteful.
Yeah, I know. I know, it's been cranking the whole time. It's,
We have the windows open.
Yeah,
in the
it's
40s.
terrible,
We're
isn't it?
baking.
I know. I know. Oh, my gosh.
I know. My office, they decided at some point in time when they built the building, instead of setting the zones up and down,
Mhm.
they did them left side of the building and right side of the building because it was occupied by two different companies. Well, now we take up the whole building, so the people get cold on the first floor and you die on the second floor. They're like, yeah, 72 is not an acceptable heat setting when heat rises.
Yeah, right, right. It's okay.
We think we're ready to approve as drafted, Lou.
Okay.
So
Have a
moved.
motion?
Second.
and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, that's unanimous.
Okay, 175 Old Cartway.
Yeah. Next one is Campbell Road, 242-1827.
This is another grading project.
Is this the one that we wanted to have them submit a,
Yes,
We will go,
we
right,
want cross-section for,
for the wall,
The
prior
wall.
to
2 feet higher than the upgrading grade.
do we have a standard detail of the wall?
He does,
They
yeah.
usually show the plan, they didn't, I didn't wanna hold it up, so we could just have them submit that
No, I
pre-construction.
was just saying we should put it up on our website so people just can steal it.
yeah, I know, right?
So, and that way,
I know we have a cross-section somewhere.
Yeah, we do.
yeah, just put it up there and link to it so it's out there in the open and people have access to it.
So pre-construction condition is to get the approved cross-section of the 2x2 stone wall. Yeah.
To make sure it's 2 feet above upgrading grade.
Yeah, grading grade, yeah. Approved by you.
Yep. So I set the bond at 2,500. You know, I don't know if that makes sense relative to the slope restoration under the EO.
It's right up against the resource area. I think it does.
It looked reasonable to me. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, I
Okay,
think-
I just wanna
yeah,
make
I-
sure it was,
We're
no,
not gonna reduce it.
no, not reducing it, I just didn't know if it was enough, but,
Close enough.
okay.
Okay, any questions? If not, have a motion?
Move that we issue the order of conditions for 242-1827, 60 Campbell Road as drafted and amended.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, that's unanimous. And last but not least is 242-1830, Mass Electric.
Mass Electric.
Right, isn't that what it says?
Yeah, it is, but they haven't been Mass Electric
All
for
right.
I think
National-
20 years.
But I think the property's still held by
Oh, is that
Nico.
right?
Yeah.
You're trying to say Amy made a mistake?
No?
No,
Okay.
just like you're old.
That I'm old.
Yeah, we are old. You know, we could Bay State Gas.
Right, I still have bills from them.
Yeah,
Why, I don't know. No, actually, I have a
I
phone.
actually did, there was something before that.
There was Bay State, then there was Columbia Gas, right?
Yeah, but there was something before Bay State.
No, I don't remember
Bay
that.
State was Lowell and Lawrence Gas Company. The Lowell and Lawrence Gas Company, I was a kid. I'm sure they were in North Andover. They were in Methuen for sure.
These are giant tanks up in Delphi by with the crusher. Big huge tank. that they
Lawrence
have.
Gas, yeah, it was Lawrence Gas Company.
Yeah.
Yeah, over by next to the
Lawrence Gas,
old
exactly.
Burke Hospital on Marsden Street.
Right where the, what is that?
That's where all the tanks are now, right?
What's over there now?
The old Columbia gas tanks over there
Yeah.
across from Sal's?
Yeah. Used to be huge.
Yeah, but they were those big bladder tanks that would rise and fall as they
That's
filled them.
crazy.
Down. I mean, this thing was huge.
Good thing Columbia wasn't managing those things, huh?
That bridge would be there anymore.
Yeah, right. Neither would the
It'd be over here somewhere.
Neither would North Lawrence.
We look at Saturday morning cartoon with the balloons blowing up.
Oh, we wanted to add the allowance for them to saw cut.
Yeah, that's, I just
No,
don't
that
see it.
makes a lot of sense.
That's what they're gonna do anyways.
I know, right.
I think they're just afraid of us.
3,000 bond. It's a pretty simple
That's pretty
structure.
simple. It's all in parking area. Right?
Yeah, it's a pole barn already paid.
They got enough money to work with.
They're gonna go up in a week.
Yeah, that we don't have to worry about that.
Yeah.
A week of foundations and second week of erection.
Do we put that in the order about the saw cutting, or?
I'm gonna,
No.
Oh,
just,
all right, yeah,
just,
Yeah, just make it legal.
Optional. Okay, there's no questions on motion?
Oh, motion. I move that we adopt as amended.
Second.
Because we're amending it now
All
as.
those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, and that's unanimous. Motion to adjourn.
We have we need to signatures
Yeah.
after
Yep.
adjournment.
Signatures.
Yeah, so,
Second.
This your first day?
Did we vote on the adjournment?
Yeah, we did.